folks, Ethan here, also known as the Valid Transcendence Enlightener. Welcome back to the channel. If you guys seen me before, welcome back. If you guys are new, welcome. So tonight, as a weather psychic, I'm going to be reviewing the recent tornado event that happened last month, which was on May 18th, 2025. So what happened on that day? Well, we had a very powerful wedge tornado that impacted the town of Greensburg and Plevna, Kansas. Why am I going over this? Well, because this event was very impactful and the town of Greensburg almost suffered a a terrible tragedy because that town almost went through a terrible nightmare because the town of Greensburg actually went through a terrible tragedy before, and that was back in 2007, which was on May 4th. What happened on that day? Well, we had a powerful wedge on that particular day, and that tornado completely swept the town of Greensburg. It was a very tragic day, and no one didn't think it was gonna make a really erratic turn, but it somehow did, even though it was very wide. Now, coming back to the recent one, a lot of folks say that this was a mile wide, but other sources, other reports are saying this was actually a 2 mile wide tornado, which is pretty rare because we don't usually get 2 mile wide wedge tornadoes. We usually don't get that. In fact, tornadoes that wide and large, it's indeedly rare in most cases because you won't typically see a wedge tornado become that wide in the field while it's destroying everything in its path. You won't see that. But according to videos and images, the appearance of it, it looks like kind of like a 2 mile wide tornado. But according to the National Weather Service, or NWS for short, they're saying that it was a 1.7 miles wide wedge tornado. But to me, I disagree with that because comparing to the Greensburg tornado back in 2007 to this one, though, this recent one, it looks much wider than the previous one a long time ago. It looks much wider. But I will show you guys a comparison between the two to prove you guys the point about this. So here we are that these two tornadoes are very wide, and the one on the left I'm showing you guys is the Greensburg, Kansas that happened on 2007, and the one on the right, this is the most recent one which happened on May 18th. With these two tornadoes that we're seeing here, the one on the left was 1.7 miles wide. That was the maximum that we've gone for 2007. But the one on the right, they say it is 1.7 miles wide, but I disagree on that because comparing to these two tornadoes, the one on the right, it looks much wider compared to the left. And the reason why is because if you guys kind of take a look at the left though, you guys can kind of see how the wide details of it, of how pretty much how long it was in diameter. But the one on the right, it looks much more further out than usual. With that out of the way, I would conclude that the one on the right with Greensburg and Plevna, Kansas, I would say that this was definitely a 2 mile wide tornado. What was the exact measurement? I personally don't know, and I don't think anyone knows, but we could just assume that this was a 2 mile wide tornado. But we could say it was 2.1, 2.2, but I just don't know the facts of this. So unfortunately, we don't have the full report on how wide this was, but like I said, we can conclude that this was a 2 mile wide tornado in the end. Well, that was pretty much all I have to say here. I would consider this a 2 mile wide tornado that happened on May 18th. Even though meteorologists say it was 1.7 miles wide, I don't agree with that at all. I believe this was much wider than it looks. Um, but what's even annoying is that the meteorology community is kind of ignoring the size, because right now, though, the structural damage is much more important than just the size itself, which I'd say that's obviously absurd to say because, you know, everything about the tornado matters, including wind speed and the size. Everything has to matter in meteorology. Everything has to matter. And the other thing is, even if this West tornado was indeed an EF5 or an EF4, I mean, they shouldn't even change its identity to based on structural damage. That's how I believe it is. Anyway, Greensburg almost took a tragic hit, but fortunately, Mother Nature spared it. But unfortunately, Plevna, Kansas took a direct hit, which was very unfortunate. I'm not sure how often we're getting at 2 mile wide tornadoes because it is, in fact, rare to get one of those type of sizes of tornadoes these days. It really is rare because I don't know what the conditions are to achieve that size, but I'm thinking that the atmosphere has to be extremely unstable. But I don't know what the scale is, but it just had to be unbelievably unstable, if I'm being totally honest. So that wraps it up, though, for my review. But if you guys are wondering if I am a meteorologist, I am not a certified meteorologist. I'm not at all, though, but I am indeed a weather psychic, so I do make tornado predictions, but I don't make them often. So the National Weather Service has got you guys covered on any upcoming potential severe weather. And the last thing I want to point out is that my spirits teach me some meteorology, but not at the deepest level where you would need a degree for that matter. Anyway, what do you guys think? Do you guys think this was 1.7 miles wide, or do you guys think this was over 2 miles wide? I'd like to know what you guys think of that. Anyway, love and talk with you guys, and as always, stay strong out there. I'll see you guys next time.